All right. Good evening,
Okay.
everybody. It is MZ, Hokie, and Dan here with the TCM podcast. We are going to talk about the first round of the most recent draft, as well as the league so far, what things are going on, what we're liking, what we're not liking, what we're seeing, what's a little bit different from 18 for those of us who are not too familiar with it. And we will go from there. Apparently, Manny's on too, just spouting random baby gibberish. So let's start off at the top of the first pick, Mike Lanky, shortstop who went to Detroit. What do we think about Mike?
Mm,
Well, I mean, I
uh,
can start it off. I actually think that was a very good pick. The fact that he is 17, has 86 contact, he is going to be absolutely phenomenal that way. Once again, his eye is really the big piece that needs to kind of continue to grow. He's not going to be your blitz guy, but in terms of fielding, can field the ball. That should also get a bump up, and he's got good gap power. So if he's hitting a bunch of doubles and triples, then really what more can you ask for? Because it's not just going to be a bunch of singles.
No, you're absolutely right. I think this is a great pick. A 17-year-old with 86 contact and 78 gap power, that's crazy. Yeah, the eye is a concern. He's not going to walk a lot, but he should hit a lot of doubles. He should hit a lot of triples, should get on base a fair amount. Not as much as he would if he had a better eye. And then it looks like he very well might play gold glove caliber shortstop. I mean, it's a nice piece to kind of try to rebuild a franchise around. So I think they did very well to pick this guy up with the number one overall pick. That being said, and again, this isn't a bash against Detroit or any of the other teams. In 18, you notice quickly, at least what I've noticed over the time that I've played it, is that pitching seems to be more vital than anything else. So even though this guy looks phenomenal, it's hard to not take the best pitcher you possibly can with the first overall pick.
I'm with you guys. I think he's going to be a great offensive guy. Um, you know, he's the type of guy. Depending on what that gap power ends up in the eye, if his eye isn't high enough, I mean, he looks to be a nice like number two guy. I mean, I wouldn't call him a leadoff guy. He looks like a nice number two guy. But if the eye doesn't come up to get him on base, I'd definitely drop this dude in the six hole. He's not going to be a guy who hits you a ton of home runs, obviously, because his power is crap. But I mean, with that contact and that gap power, he's going to be hitting doubles and triples for you and driving runs in like crazy. Whoever your power guys don't drive in. Defense, I mean, he got the arm for shortstop. I might throw him at third base. Just because I like a little bit more range. I like a 90 range on shortstops. But that's just me. I just like the 90 plus range on a shortstop. But I mean, when you click on his fielding, it looks like he could transition over to third easy because he has a nice arm for third. But I mean, overall, yeah, I think he's a nice pick.
Yeah, I definitely understand your concern. It would be better to have a little more range at your shortstop. But you look at those amateur numbers. That last year of high school didn't have an error in the games that he played there. Like it's I don't know.
He's at
It's tough.
91 against lefties already. Oh.
Yeah, yeah. No, this guy is gonna rake. He could honestly probably. I don't want to go as far as say he could start now, but I mean he's not that far off. So
No,
it'll be interesting to see.
Contact wise, no, yeah.
No, yeah, the eye is what's going to really hold him back, and could keep him from being just an absolutely superstar in the league. But he's 17. We have a couple seasons to find out.
Yeah, because I still don't know. Like Koki was saying, I guess it sounds like defense jumps a little bit in 18 as opposed to what I'm used to. So I mean, if his defense starts coming up, if I don't know if range jumps at all, but if range jumps,
It doesn't even need to jump much, just a little bit. I think just about everything jumps in the new final. I think that was one of the changes that Clay made as time went on. Is that I think almost any stat you see, any vital you see, has the potential to jump. Again, whether it will or not depends on build, just like anything else. But
They definitely haven't improved that. I mean, the one thing that you guys are not used to, of course, is going to be catchers. Catchers' arms get better.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
Well, if you
Yeah,
draft
that's
the
the
right
one
catcher,
thing
if you draft the right
I
catcher
hate.
in FCM, their arms get better too, just not a lot better.
Yeah, because I mean, when you have a guy who plays in the minors, I mean, everybody's defense gets better as they play in the minors. I don't care. Yeah, I mean, unless you're just a bat guy, and you have absolutely no defense. If you're a shortstop, you're going to be a better shortstop in AAA than you were in A. Yeah, and I never understood why it didn't happen in older versions.
Because it took him like 10 years to create a decent mogul. But then
Yeah,
along the way, he also lost some of the stuff that made mogul mogul. So it was what it was. Now, what about the next pick? Bernie McTier, whatever. 17, another 17-year-old went to San Francisco. So
Yeah.
pitching was a little bit. In a drafts like this, especially the first year, you want to take. I always think you want to take pitching. Like pitching is always what I would try to focus on, and I felt like the pitching was almost a little bit lacking this year. Like there wasn't one guy that just stood out as yes, he's the guy you have to have.
this what I mean. I took a couple pictures in here in this draft just because I wanted to see, like, and I even have them like consciously marked in my head to see what they do because I tried to grab different builds to see how they'll progress. Um, I like this guy. I like the fact that he has good control, really good power and movement at 17. He's going to have a killer fastball. I mean, he has a 79 fastball at 17. And both of it, he basically has three pitches above his overall. Now, I don't think the curve or the change will stay above his overall, but I think you're going to still have three. You're going to have a great fastball and a pretty decent curve and change to go with it. Not to mention the fact most guys that you see that have that power movement they have a 20, like a 30 or below percentage on ground ball, and this guy's already starting out at 40. So, I mean,
Right. So
he looks there. You know what I
that,
mean?
yeah, and that should go up. And you're right. I mean, out of all the pitchers, I mean, yeah, this is probably the guy I take first. Because he does look a little bit better than everybody else. He has that high power, high movement. The control's not too far off, and the command's a little low. You don't expect the command, I don't think, to get too. It's not going to get to that 80 range where we'd love to see it. I don't think, but it should land somewhere in the 70s, which will be serviceable. He might give up a couple more home runs than you'd like, but he's going to strike out just a ton of batters.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked him. To be perfectly honest, that's probably who I would have taken at 4 for Chicago. Uh, Pretty much to lead up to it, like the three pitchers that were on my list were all taken with the first three picks, which usually does not happen, surprisingly. So, in terms of that, like really his downside is his command, right? So,
Yep.
how does he do with home runs? If that jumps up, he's going to be absolutely fine. If it staggers a little bit, then that's where you start to get problems.
Yeah, that's where you trade him to, that's where somebody that waits for him to falter just a little bit and has a pitcher's park, grabs him, and just tries to hope that keeps the ball in a little bit more.
Like I'm not gonna be honest, or I'll be honest. When San Francisco plays Colorado, like I probably wouldn't play McTier. I would probably
No,
skip him.
I
But
I would leave him in the minors or put him on the bench or do something because you're right, he
yeah,
will get hammered. He'll have one of those 5 home run given up games. So what about the next guy? Another 17-year-old pitcher, Jeremy Allen. Okay, you already said there's another guy that you liked. I mean, again, very similar things. Good, really good fastball, good curve, higher ground ball rate than McTier.
yeah,
About the same command, control, power about the same, movement's a little bit less. But
yeah.
again, I almost feel a little bit less worried about the home run guy for some reason. I don't know why.
I know for me, like obviously Y guy is not a new guy to Mogul, but newer to like leagues that you guys are in. So him and I were talking before the draft, and of course, he was asking my opinion on a couple of pitchers because apparently, even in the other league that we are in, he said you're apparently good at picking pitchers. So I kind of gave him who I was going to take and suggested that he pick some, which kind of backfired. But for me, like Chicago's not actually going to be my team. But like this is literally my build. High power. The movement being above overall means less in 2018 than in FCM, and the fact that he has control. Power once again, or command. Unless you're going to play Colorado every series, you're probably going to be fine. It's okay to give up a few home runs if no one's on base, solo shots or whatever.
Yeah, and Dan and I were talking about that in the last pod that we did 2 nights ago, because there was a lot of guys that had home run problems that were drafted over in FCM that they looked to be all solo shots because they weren't actually giving up a lot of earned runs, but they were giving up a fair amount of home runs. So yeah, if you can not let guys on base but give up a solo dinger or a 2-run shot every now and again, fine. When you're walking 6 guys and then giving up massive homers, that's when it becomes a problem. So yeah, but it'll be interesting to see how the command on some of these guys rolls as the time progresses.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with both of you. I like this guy. I mean, he has a nice solid fastball, and that curve is solid too. I mean, he has 2 nice pitches above his overall, and he doesn't look like he's a home run guy. I mean, if you look at his minor, I mean, I know some people do, some people don't, but if you look at his minor league stats, he doesn't have a home run problem. You know, and I'll be interested to see how command plays into it. But like you said, if he's not going to Coors or he's not going to, a park that someone pitches up or puts together for home runs, this guy
Yankee
looks
Stadium.
like a solid like anchory rotation guy.
Yeah. And listen, you're right. Well, let's be fair. Maddie's not here, so we can say it. We look at amateur numbers. We believe an extent into what that they do show a glimpse of what can happen in the future. So if you show me a guy that's been giving up 30 home runs every season in the amateur league and tell me he doesn't have a home run problem, I'm not fucking buying it.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, he's not here, so we can say that without him jumping on the chat and being like, blip, 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 blip. So
him and I
damn
always
it,
have
shut up.
opposite opinions, so and
Where
generally works out for me, so I don't know.
Where. All right, moving on to a guy that definitely does not have a home run problem. Gaten Silquero. Jesus Christ. I see him is currently being transitioned to a closer. I don't know if that's on purpose or moguled and nobody caught it.
Moguled and Admin did not catch that for the team.
All right,
He
well
was
there you go.
controlling.
There's a freebie for you. You're welcome. So if you want to knock that 150-day injury down to 60, that'd be great.
Unless, because we did just get a new GM, I don't know if maybe he did it as well. So he might have actually done it.
And then if he did it, you need to yell at him because that's stupid. So here's why. He's 18. Doesn't have a home run problem. It doesn't look like. His strikeout to walkout looks like it's going to be amazing. It doesn't look like he's going to walk a lot of dudes. Because look where the control is already. Control at 18 is a 73, power's an 87. Movement's a little bit lower than you would like, but I think it'll be fine. And the command's already at 60, which means you have a good shot to get up in the 70s or 80s. So I think you are going to really, really like this pitcher. Good fastball, solid changeup. I mean, I think this guy's going to be a top of the rotation guy, and you need to see him as a starter and not transition him to a closer where he's going to be, I don't want to say less effective, but have slightly less value potentially.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the vital numbers on him alone for his control and power at 87 are insane. I mean, this guy could hit close to 100 on both of those. I don't know what the lower command and movement will do. Like I said, new file, never played this one. So I'll be interested to see how it plays with him. But I mean, you look at his minor league numbers. I mean, 27-9 strikeout ratio. First 5 games he's played in, 7-4. I'd love to see what they were if he started.
Right.
But yeah, overall, I mean, you're looking at a closer with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, or not a closer, a starter if he changes it back. That's insane. Plus, if that change comes into into the 80s, which he's he's 18 years old, so I have to imagine it's gonna settle somewhere.
It's gonna get damn close. I think it'll be in the low 80s.
Yeah, that you're gonna have a hell of a pitcher on your hands.
Yeah, because you're gonna throw a 99 rated ball 100 miles an hour, and then throw an 80 mile, a changeup probably at 90 miles an hour, rated 80, and the batters are gonna be like, "What the fuck just happened?"
Yeah,
And I mean, I'm pretty sure both of you can agree that if there was one pitcher prototype that you could label as this is who Hokie is going to draft, it's
Be this guy.
literally that. It's
yeah,
Yeah,
bang
this is
on.
when I went to scout, and since I decided to only keep one pick, I wanted a pitcher. And when I was going through and I saw this guy, I'm like, "Oh, please let, please let." And I looked, I'm like, "Well, nope, shit." Because this was the one guy who was like, "Yeah, out of all of them, I think he might be a guy that could slip, and if he does, I have to have him." And he didn't slip at all.
yeah. I'd have grabbed him too. I would have liked to seen the movement a little bit higher, but like we were talking before we started recording, Hokie said it's not as much of a factor it is in previous fouls, but I mean, this dude, those vitals are just insane. I mean, I'd like an 89 power and he's 18 years old. I mean, it just boggles my mind to what his vitals look like already.
Now, you want to talk about another insane? Let's talk about the next guy, Phil Westlake. 17 years old, 87 power. Now, instead of the high control, he has the higher command. So he's a 72 command, 66 control, 68 movement. But his pitches, 78 fastball, 73 curve, and he throws 97 to 99. So this is another one of those power arms that tweaks it. So he might walk a couple more guys, but he's going to give up less home runs. It's going to be very interesting. And he does walk more guys. If you look at his walk numbers already in high school and in the minors, he walks double what the last guy did, but also strikes out a little bit more than the last guy did. So it's going to be interesting to see how he plays with those 2+ pitches, one of them being at least a plus plus. So, and I like him as well. He's another looks like to be a good pitcher, but a lot of that's going to depend on how high that control gets. If you walk so many batters, it could be an issue, even with the high strikeouts he's going to maintain.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too. I mean, the command's high. And I'll probably say this a lot as we pod. I am just so interested to see what these pitchers do with their vitals and jumping and the extra vital that's in there with the command. I'm so interested to see what these guys end up turning out like and how they perform. I love the guy with his pitches. I mean, he has 2 really good pitches for his age and his compared to his overall. Great power, great command. Like you said, the walks are higher, but I'm interested to see how that plays in.
Yeah, listen, with great power comes great responsibility. So,
No, good God,
Yeah.
why do I pod with you?
I mean, for me,
because you're bored.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I will say for me, like touching kind of on the same points that you guys are saying, the only reason that I actually listed him lower, and actually I know Milwaukee was looking at Westlake, and I suggested Allen. Maybe I'll be wrong, but with the control being below the overall, the movement being below the overall, he technically speaking had the least upside for the overall capabilities. And with having the 2 pitches, I find that sometimes he could learn like some stupid third pitch and it be like a 50.
Yeah,
So
right. Yeah, I agree with you.
in terms of that, I think Westlake's going to be very good, and for Percy's sake, I hope it is, because I think he is going to be fantastic. I just think that the other ones have the potential to be more. It's just once again, do you get moguled and get a broken vertebrae?
Because who doesn't break their neck playing baseball?
Wow, five picks in, we're already taking shots by injuries. All right, it's gonna be good and go great. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how some of that winds out in Mogul. More often than not, in the older files, so in 14 over in FCM, if I get a guy that has just 2 pitches, I make him a reliever. I don't even think about leaving him as a starter. I just automatically turn him into a reliever. Because I know that third pitch is going to suck, but if he's a reliever, maybe he won't develop it. Not that necessarily makes sense or works, but that's the way I usually go with that. Here, not so sure about it yet. Even though I do have a guy with 2 pitches now that I'm not turning into a reliever that might bite me in the ass eventually. We'll see what happens. All right, first fun name of the draft, Vinny Lamberti. 19 years old. Looks like he went to the Mets. Average. Like he's one of those guys that I would safely take if he was available in the mid rounds, mid first round in these files, in the 17 and the 18 files, because he's just got that straight, almost 70s across the board. You know, they're all not going to say straight across the board, and one of them's going to jump. But at this point, he's a safe guy to take. You know, his fastball's lagging a little bit, slider's solid, circle change is going to be okay, but he's just a safe guy to take because his vitals are straight across the board average. Some are going to jump, some are going to stay. But doesn't matter which. Not really, because at least the rest of them are going to be okay.
I mean, I kind of like him just because he does have he has a higher overall vitals, meaning like that they're all. I do like the fact that they're kind of all together. I do worry about his control staying and movement and command or movement and power jump, and his control stays at 72, which would be a problem if everything else starts blowing past it. But for me, and I don't know with this foul, but I know in 14, like I'd stay away from a guy that has a lower fastball than his other two pitchers, just because Mogul fucks those guys. Now, like I said, brand new foul. I have no idea what he's going to do. But I mean, he's still throwing 91 to 93. He's going to have a phenomenal slider, it looks like. But again, it'll be interesting to see how this build progresses. Since we're all kind of like, I mean, Hokie knows because he's been simming to see, but it'll be interesting to see how this guy progresses, what starts jumping on him and what lags behind.
Yeah, I mean, for Vinny, like, he definitely seems to be that pitcher. That's going to be a good number 2. Obviously, my thing is always I like the fastball to be the best pitch, unless he's going to be a high control, high movement type of player. So that's kind of my knock on him. But I mean, in terms of that, I'm also someone that probably would have taken Subador before Lamberti. And I would risk the left-handed pitching, right? There's definitely a couple places that way, but in terms of that, it's definitely a safe pick. And sometimes, in around that top, if you are just outside of the top 5, that's what you're looking for. You don't want to, miss a draft or something like that and completely screw your team if you are starting to do a rebuild of some sort, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're right, and I think that speaks into the next pick, which was Raul Gonzalez. This is one that I don't get. I think it could be a miss. I'm not saying it will be, and I don't know who is this. The Mets again? No, I'm just not. I collect left instead of straight. God damn it! Joel Hawes is
I
the
thought it
next
was
pick.
fouls. Like, who the fuck
I hit that stupid over fucking button on the player card, thinking it would just go to the next pick in the draft and I want the next pick in his system. So sorry, Mets, whoever that pitcher was, he's gonna suck.
I'm sure Texas Tornado is going to absolutely love you.
No, oh well, no, because you know what? Fuck
Yo,
you.
and Raul Gonzalez actually looks pretty decent. Don't be hating.
Don't, no, he doesn't. He looks like 10 piles of shit in a 8-pile bag.
He's gonna strike people out and get homers.
Yeah. TT's on too, at least over an FCM, but who cares? All right, so the next actual pick in the draft, just for those of you paying attention, and apparently I wasn't, would be Joel Hawes, to a 17-year-old switch hitting second baseman, who went to the Padres. Listen, that's another one of those things. You look at the minor league numbers, and you're like, damn, that looks like a fine hitter. He's going to have a little bit of power. Looks like more gap power than actual power. His contacts is 78 at 17. I mean, that's just fucking nuts. And he has a little bit of speed. I don't think the speed is necessarily going to make him a terror on the base paths, but it's going to help a little bit. But then his defense is trash. He doesn't defend. And again, we know it will move 15 maybe than it would in 14. But that range, like where do you put him? There's no way that range jumps enough that you feel comfortable putting him anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this guy, and I mean, offensively, he looks like he's going to be a beast. Hitting gaps and I mean, he's a good number. I would drop him in the 2-hole probably. It looks like a good eye. He's going to get on for you. He's going to hit extra bases, so he's going to be easy to drive in. It looks like with that gap power. But if you put a glove on this guy, it looks like he's going to be worse than your. It looks like he's going to be a fucking t-ball player out there on the field.
Yeah, you put a glove on this guy, you fucked up. Well, let's just call it as is. You put a glove on this guy, you fucked up. Change him to a DH now and just call it a fucking day.
Yeah.
I think he could actually be a relatively decent third baseman because, like, I know you guys are really basing the defense on FCM. If I'm not mistaken, his arm and fielding should get up to at least the mid 80s, and at that point,
Really?
I think so.
Well, fielding I can see because it's already 79.
Yeah. Well, okay, maybe arm is like an 81 or 82. And this is more me trying to remember from the other league that I'm in that uses 2017. Because I didn't actually fully look at people like when I was testing sims, but in terms of that, I actually think it will go up. His range is still going to be garbage, but at least in terms of that, he could be a serviceable third baseman, maybe even first base. Because keep in mind, the reason that it's a 59 at first base is because he has no experience at first base. That's a setting that like no one's ever going to see, but all the players have different experience settings. So in terms of that, the more he plays at first base, the more that 59 could even go up.
Oh, okay.
So like a lot of people were complaining obviously about like certain players having stupid stats because they play like second base and shortstop, and they'd be like a second base at 90 and a shortstop at like 43. It was literally because the game had it at like 20% experience. So it does shift over time. It will improve. So that might also affect even the 69 at second base, but yeah, he has to move. He can't play second base. You can't have that type of range there.
No, you're right. So if some of that does move a little bit or change a little bit, then yeah, throw him at third base and hope for the best, or just stick him at first and hope that he doesn't drop 20 fucking balls to get thrown to him. But, great bat. Overall player looks pretty good. Defense, fuck. All right, James McGillivore, 19-year-old left fielder, went to the Braves. This is one of those guys that. So I'm going to tell you right now, and this might be 18, and not what I'm used to. But when I look at a guy that has 95 speed, I think, oh my god, I have a guy that's going to steal 1,000 bags. This is fucking fantastic. But his base running numbers suck.
Oh, they're horrible.
They're like he's got the 95 speed in speed, and then a 90 in first to third, and everything else is like, I don't know how to steal a bag. Am I going to the right or the left? Like it's like, what the fuck happened? And that aside, like, no, that aside, fuck, I just don't under. And again, he's in left field now. Well, okay, so Mogul saying he'd be a poor fit in center field. That's a bit of a shock to me as well, based on his range and arm and everything like that. I think he'd be a pure center fielder. He's got power. He's got gap power. I mean, you see all that, you're thinking, oh shit, Barry Bonds, but just for some reason that speed is not translating to actually stolen bases, and the contact is a bit low, though in the actual subsets it is higher, so maybe he won't be as bad as I'm thinking, but oof. There's just a couple things you don't love, and that speed not actually being speed is one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like I pick on Stang's draft picks, but
Because you do.
yeah, I don't really like this one. Once again, he hits better against lefties and righties. His eye against righties is a 66. Kind of what you all mentioned about speed. Like in terms of that, those are the things that I dislike. Now, I don't know. I've never seen this build. I'm going to be perfectly honest in that regards. So he could very well end up being someone that, maybe he steals 10 or 15 a bases a season or something like that, and hits like 30 home runs and hits 270, and then he becomes a pretty good pick. but that's if everything kind of hits right. But his fielding, like his glove work, is pretty terrible too. But at least he can run. And
Yes.
He can run. He can run in a straight
I mean,
line, but he can't stop, go, start, slide, steal. Like it's the weirdest fucking thing. And I think here's what happened. Maybe not exactly, but I would not be surprised at all if this is now that this is a Stanks pick. He saw 95 speed and went, "Holy fuck, gotta take this guy." Took him, and then is now going to realize when he listens to this podcast, oh, he doesn't steal bases. Well, fuck.
Yeah. And once again, I will say the whole comment you made about center fielder, 100% he can play center field. It is going to be the experience thing. So if he put to center field, it would probably slowly turn up to that 81 in center field. It would just take some time. And the good thing is he's 19. But yeah.
And that's what I would do with him. I'd center field him because with that range and with this fake speed, he's gonna be a much better center fielder than he would. I mean, he'd be fine in the other corner, but why waste it?
now on this, Hokey, do you want us to tell you like position change like we do in FCM? If we want to turn a guy like this into a center fielder, or do we just change it and let him play that way in the minors? Like we would put him into like putting a pitcher into relief role.
I think you still have to post it so I can process
Okay.
it because that doesn't change. It's only pitchers that do that.
Okay.
I think Six did that with Valleca, which I missed last sim. And the moment I simmed, I kind of remembered that he mentioned something about that. But yeah, it will just auto change. Because I also noticed, which was more last sim, that this is less forgiving if you have multiple people in the same position.
Oh,
Because
great.
Milwaukee messaged me and he's like, "Why did none of my hitters play last sim?" And I was like, "Oh, well, it was 9 days." And then I looked closer and it was because he had like 3 shortstops all playing in A. And I was like, "Oh, that's why," because they all split
Yeah.
a game.
Well, that's another thing that's good to know. I mean, we being an FCM, we try to do that anyway. I spent 10, 15 minutes earlier doing that with my draft picks coming in from FCM, so that makes sense, and that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, looking at this guy, I mean, the only thing I see like upside for him if you go like, I mean, Stang threw him in AAA. 3 of his first 10 hits are extra base hits, and he scored 8 of the 10 times roughly because it doesn't look like his his on base percentage is that much higher than his average. So the dude scores, and looks like his extra base hits are going to be it looks like he might be a doubles and triples guy, but I agree with you on literally everything else you guys said. I don't know what this guy's going to turn out to be, but it doesn't look like
It's not what you expect. It's not going to be what you expect, but it might be. Sometimes you can't always get what you want, Dan. But every now and again, you find that you get what you need. So.
Oh God.
Oh, I know that's 2. I'm gonna keep doing them too. Like you're not even gonna see half of them coming. That's gonna be the best part of this.
It makes me so sad.
I felt that one coming.
I know you did. 'Cause I kind of bundled the beginning, but yes, that was a Stones quote, Dave. Good job. Yeah. All right. So Joshua Fox.
Coming after
Thanks, Fred.
Tucker Bell.
All right, Joshua Fox, the next pitcher taken in the draft, oldest pitcher so far taken. I think oldest player taken so far, 20 years old. He goes to the Orioles, and he's one of those guys with a very good fastball and a good sinker. So he's a fastball sinker pitcher, 50% ground ball rate, throws about 96. I like him. I like him. He's got the higher power, which is nice, and then his control movement control command are both high enough that you're not expecting that to be an issue. It looks like they're going to get into, I don't know, mid 80s, maybe higher. And the movement's going to lag a little bit behind, but if I can get up toward the 80s too, that power is going to be probably closer to the 90s. You're going to have a very good pitcher on your hands. He's a guy that's not going to give up too many home runs, it looks like. Maybe not. But he's going to strike out a ton. Last year alone, 81 strikeouts, 30 walks. Like, fuck, I'll take that. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
That's what the Fox said.
That's what I noticed too. Go ahead, Doug.
Oh, I just said that's what the Fox said.
Yeah, you tried to do my thing that just
oh God, it's flying all over the place.
Oh.
Yeah, OWM literally just ruined it because he talked at the same time. It's just thrown in there.
Yeah, good job, miss.
Yeah.
That's my
Way to stomp out dreams.
But I mean,
My
in terms
goal.
of that, I do like Joshua Fox. Once again, I probably also would have taken him over Lamberti. But he definitely has a lot of the same things that I like. If anything, he's more advanced. So it'll be interesting to see how long it takes for him to peak. But his command seems to be pretty decent, although he has given up 2 home runs in A. But we'll kind of find out and see what ends up happening there.
It'll be interesting to watch how some of these guys and some of these builds develop in this file, just to kind of moving forward, so people kind of get an idea of what to feel for. Because honestly, like even some of the guys I traded for before the season myself, and there wasn't many of them, I went based on feel. It's solely based on absolutely nothing else other than feel, and kind of the way that 17 runs, since it's similar enough, and thinking like this guy did I've seen this work in 17, so fuck it, let's try it in 18. So. But let's move on to Mario Sabador. Ugh. I know this is a guy, Hokie, you mentioned earlier that you liked. And I can see why. He's got a high control, got a good power. Command looks like it's lagging, might be okay, and the movement is better than the overall, and it should be okay. Lefty, which is a concern for many people. I don't know why. Um, I don't see much of a home run issue. Got a really good fastball, but only has and then only the curve is the only other pitcher that's not that good. It's all below his overall already. So there are some concerns there. 40% ground ball rate, 95 to 97. Not a bad pick. I think he should. Looks like he might be a solid pitcher, but I just don't know. With one pitch basically, and a lower command, I fear that he's gonna be one of those lefties that people want to like, and just gives up go for balls left, right, and center.
Yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
honest. I'll let
Okay.
you go first.
I was going to say same thing on Vital. I mean, Vital wise, he looks beautiful. I'd have picked him too. But if I was scouting this guy, as soon as I looked over and saw a 79 fastball and a 58 curve, I wouldn't even have wrote him down on my list. I would have completely ignored him because of that, like that, just that one pitch with nothing else. I just have a feeling he's like Mizzy said, he's just going to Mogul's just going to knock him around the yard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. In the past with lefties, I have not had the greatest track record, and I continually want to give them a chance. But in terms of that, I just love everything about that. Once again, it kind of goes to the point. He's not going to walk a lot of people. His power's good. His movement's good, so his whip should be good. Once again, command. But if you're not walking anyone, then good news. It's going to be a lot of solos. That being said, it's also a chance that if he, in the playoffs, he could absolutely get destroyed, and it's one of those chances. I don't know if he can necessarily be an ace with the reasoning that you guys said, being a fastball and curve, but if you get a good number 2 that can be a lefty, there's really no problem with that. It's just whether or not the pitch that he does eventually learn is going to be decent enough. And I would say, kind of after the pitchers that we've seen that were taken, there's not a whole lot
No,
of a
there's not
bad
much
chance,
left.
right? Like, I would say there's still one more pitcher that we're going to get to in a second that I really liked. But in terms of that, it's a very good thing in Oakland, especially because I'm going to be completely wrong, but isn't Oakland's park like one of the larger ones?
I believe so.
So in terms of
But
that, like,
and the solo home run thing is pretty damn accurate. Because if you look at his home runs in high school, 8 runs given up, 4 home runs. 8 runs given up, 6 home runs. 10 runs given up, 5 home runs. 6 runs given up, 3 home runs. So his home run to run ratio was 1-2. So chances are those are all solo home runs. So you're right. There's maybe not a lot to concern about, but if you have a guy that has home run problem and only throws a fastball, I'm gonna sit on the fucking fastball. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. It'll be interesting to see how he does with that slightly different kind of build to him. All right. Well, Dave likes Wilk, so let's just bypass him and talk about somebody else. Oh no, Dan drafted. We have to talk about him, son of a bitch. All right, so Dan drafted Tony Wilkinson, a 19-year-old pitcher out of the great state of Minnesota, Graceville to be exact. And I can see why Dan took him. Great fastball, slider, and change, both above his overall. As we're got a good power, got a great movement, and an okay control. Command's a little bit low, so he might have some home run issues as he develops. Doesn't look to have his first 3 years in high school weren't great for home runs, and so far it doesn't look good either in his little bit of double A experience.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure why he's in Double A, but maybe that's the problem there.
Well, maybe kind of airmailed that one a little bit, but he throws 100 miles an hour. No, you're right, Percy. He should not be in double A. He should be in whatever's below single A. Rookie ball, golf league, frontier league. He should be somewhere down in that. I've heard the shit. What shit, Stang? We've been dishing a lot of shit so far. You're gonna have to be a little bit more specific. Listen, this is a solid pick. It'll be interesting if his control and command can get to somewhere respectable. I mean, he should be a pretty damn good pitcher.
Me, honestly, I grabbed him because he seemed like he had good vitals. Pitchers were flying off the fucking board, and from what I saw, I liked him the best of what I saw in this kind of range. I noticed the home runs. I also noticed the home runs with the ERA with him. So I wasn't extremely worried about him, but he was just to grab a pitcher to have a pitcher was basically before they all fucking went.
Apparently, Sting is listening to everything I say, so that is unfortunate.
Excuse me?
Oh, Stang. He was just talking about it.
I'm following the chat as we're chatting, and apparently Sting saw exactly exactly what I said about. He saw Speed, just said "fuck it" and took it.
Yeah,
he actually quoted me on that, so that's great.
Well, good. We got a Boston Atlanta rivalry already. This is great.
Where's Stang? Is he in is Stang in main chat?
No, he's in main chat. Yeah.
He was in this chat, and then MZ said stuff, and he left.
No, so the Fred effect. I did that to Fred one year over in FCM. I said something bad about the Red Sox draft, and he just left the chat, and then said something mean to me later. Probably deserved. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I didn't deserve it, but
yeah. And I will say Tony Wilkinson, absolutely. Like, he's pretty much a carbon copy of another person taken 2 picks later. So in terms of that, really the only downside is just how that control goes. If his control can stay above the overall, then he can be very good. And I think if it dips a little bit, then that's just where you have the potential where some problems could happen.
Yeah, because a lot of people get on base and they crush the ball to the fucking park.
Yeah.
Because honestly, and I'll be completely honest with you, when I'm bringing out a little bit of honesty on this side. When I didn't realize that there was a command vital till I was scouting in like the 3rd round, and I was like, "Fuck, what does that mean?"
I mean, the nice thing is we may never even have to worry about him, right? He could get a broken wrist or something.
Yeah, get run over by a truck in center field and break his neck.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna, say like he pulled the whole Musgrove or something.
Ha! He's making fun of your guys too. He's making fun of your guys too. This is great. He's having us do the chat, and he's just throwing barbs at us and stings.
He's just slinging them.
Yeah, it's pretty much all I got. You guys can shit on me in FCM all you want.
I don't think I shit on you this year.
I got your back in the tanking, man. I am behind you 100% on tanking.
Hey, and I gave you a really good draft grade.
You did. I could not have gotten something better. I actually was in mid talks with Stang, and then he said no, and then I was like, cool, just take them for Zuniga.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's talk about Will Bidwell, and first catcher off the board, and another 17-year-old. A lot of 17-year-olds. He's one of those guys that you look at his amateur numbers and you're just like, oh yeah, because he's just got crazy average OPB, slugging, OPS, fucking everything is just off the fucking charts. But then you look at his vitals and you're like, I'm not sure, totally sure what he was doing off the charts. Was he just bigger than everybody else? What the fuck was going on? Defensively, looks good. Like he's got that big arm that you want to see in FCM, and you're going to want to see it too here. Preventing steals is at a 93, though throwing out runners is only at a 72. So there's something going on there. But management and framing pitches isn't bad. If that stuff's all going to get better, um, then he's going to be a pretty damn good catcher. And he's going to have good contact. Looks to have some gap power, maybe some normal power too, and a little bit of eye. I think the eye's going to lag. Um, but all in all, I think you're going to have a good hitter and a great catcher on your hands.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think he's going to be, he looks like he's going to be in the 40%. Well, depending on that throwing out runners, the preventing steals is going to be, he may not have a lot of guys run on him because I noticed the pitchers have that too, or have a vital like that. So if he's with the right amount of pitcher or with the right pitcher, it might not be a lot of guys running on him. However, that throwing out runners could mean the center fielder is going to be doing a lot of catching too. So
you just put him behind the bag and hope for the best.
Yeah. Hopefully, maybe he runs in and tags somebody out. But his offense looks to be nice. He's not going to be a guy that's going to crush it over the fence, but he's going to scatter it all over the place. But yeah, I don't think he'll be a walk guy. I mean, he looks like a 6-7 rank spot for me with that eye, because he's probably going to strike out a lot. Because like you said, that eye is going to lag behind. It's not going to. I don't think it's going to keep up with the rest of the vitals.
That'll hurt him a little bit as he gets closer to the majors, but all in all, I don't think there's much at all to worry about with him.
Yeah, he's not going to hit 400.
No. I mean, so obviously I drafted him for Chicago. I actually thought he was going to be taken in the top 10. There was literally no way that I thought he was going to drop to 12. It was so easy to take him at 12. I actually debated taking him at 4. I almost took him over Salquero. And that goes, like, you never draft for team need. However, like, catchers is one of those spots where you want to have like a decent defensively not useless garbage on there. And Chicago has no one. Like, Zach Collins is a 23-year-old rookie with 64 contact. He's hitting 165. I haven't, like, there's nothing there other than everything else was like 70 overall. Really just not all that good. And so that's kind of the reason I went there. And then in terms of that, sorry, my cat just walked in. In terms of that, I just thought he was a really good piece, and there was quite a few pitchers. There's still only one pitcher that I really wanted, but outside of that, I thought he was the best catcher. And if his eye even legs behind and hits maybe like 70, 75, he's still going to hit the ball a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know what range does for a catcher, so
probably nothing, but we shall see. All right. The Brewers took a 19-year-old pitcher, Kevin Stockhausen, a guy that I bet Hoagie's going to like. Throws at 101 miles an hour, 81 power, 67 control, 59 command, movement, and overall. So a little bit of concern there with the home runs. But again, with the control up, he's probably not going to walk as many people. So it'll hopefully be more of the solo persuasion than otherwise, though his stats don't necessarily speak to that as well as some of the others we've seen. 81 fastball, okay slider, curve a little behind the overall. So 3 pitches. Fastball's going to be the main one. I think he's going to depend a lot if that slider and curve can get up there. If they can get up high enough where he really has a 3-pitch repertoire, I think it'd be good, especially for a left-hander. Though the home runs do concern me, because they really, again, they don't. Most of those seasons don't look like they're solely solo home runs. I mean, 2 seasons where you have 7 and you have 18 and 16, so it's not that 14 or less that we've been seeing in some of the other players. So
I actually told Milwaukee to draft him. Once again, kind of the same thing. We talked a lot in that first round. He's a lefty. His power is fantastic. He is literally my prototype. I love that control. It's really just whether the movement. If the movement doesn't go up, like I'm not too concerned about command based on everything that we've just talked about. But if he's giving up an extra proportion amount of hits, then that's where the command is the problem.
So command works on what? Home runs and actual like missing contact, so to speak?
Command is mainly to do with the home runs, but it does have an effect on whip as well.
Okay.
Not as much as movement. So movement specifically does whip.
Okay.
Or hits against. So that's where that is.
Now, if he has a bad whip, does he automatically get the bad nay too?
Oh God.
Oh no, that was a good one, Dan. Oh, you can't hate that one. That was fantastic.
Oh.
Oh, I know. I could see the expression that you're making right now, and it's fantastic.
Or maybe ask for another one. Yeah, I just took it there.
You can hate all you want. You can hate all you want. It's gonna get worse from here.
Man, I really hope Chris Sale doesn't die.
Son of a bitch. All right, so Seattle took Kevin Herr, center fielder. Another high-speed guy. Let's click over to the skills tab and see if that actually means something. A little bit more than the last guy, but not a lot. So that's an interesting thing now that I'm going to really have to look into these high-speed guys that really can't steal bags to save their goddamn lives. That is an interesting conundrum. His defense looks phenomenal. The fielding doesn't look great, but the range and the arm look very nice. He's already in center field. Big gap power, good eye. I like him. Contact's lagging a little bit, but other than that, I don't know. I kind of like this guy.
Yeah, I like him too. I mean, his defensive wise, especially. I mean, he got 83 glove work, so Mogul usually doesn't screw the outfielders with an 83 glove work. If they got an 83, they're catching the ball. I mean, he can move in, out,
and then in and out again.
Oh, and back in again. Looks like he'll be able to, decently throw. Like he's going to be pretty accurate, so he'll probably get you some assists from the outfield. What they don't have like reading the hit anymore. Oh, well, look at that. But no, powers there, gap powers there, eyes there, contact little low. I don't. If he was lefty, that contact wouldn't bother me at all. But the fact that he's a righty, but it doesn't look like it comes out that much. I mean, he's 61, 64. That's pretty decent.
Yeah, so he's above against lefties and not too far behind right.
No, because typically if you see a guy with a 65, 62 contact and he's a righty, that righty is in the mid 50s, you know? So, I mean, his contact looks pretty decent too. So, I mean, I like him overall. I think he's going to, you can just dump him out in center field and never worry about him again. He's, you know what I mean? Like he's going to be your center fielder.
Yeah, in terms of that, honestly, the only thing I don't like about him is his contact being below overall.
Yeah.
My personal experience is always that it never works out for me. But overall, fairly good pick. I think in terms of that, his steal success is fairly good. So that should be one positive thing. 80 is not terrible. I honestly haven't looked enough to know if it improves.
His steal success, he's 3 for 4.
Yeah.
he hasn't made an attempt in his last 2 high school seasons.
No, okay. I don't know. I was going more like in the base running section, the tab and vitals. So it should be kind of interesting to see, but I don't know. I think he's going to definitely have that gap power, and if contact definitely goes up, then that's good. But it probably ends up being like a 260 hitter, and then it's just whether or not the speed is really useful for someone who's only hitting 260.
Yeah,
I think we're right. He'll be another one we kind of watch as he goes, or or doesn't. All right, Thomas Salvia, who I'm just assuming was born from a hemp plant, shortstop, looks to have some solid defense, more than solid defense. Looks to have some quite good defense, and high contact, high power already, and speed that's actually speedy. I don't fucking get this. He has 11 less speed than the last two guys we looked at, but his steal frequency, steal success, aggressiveness, decision making, everything is just far above it. This is the weirdest fucking thing. He's going to hit home runs. He's probably going to get on base. A little bit lower than I like. No gap power, so it looks like all the home runs I'm going to guess then are going to be all the power are going to be home runs, not doubles. And I mean, his minor league stats kind of show that. Um, it's be a fun guy to watch. I think he might have that Gold Glove defense, and he's going to hit you maybe 20 home runs a year and steal maybe 20. He might be a 20-20 guy that wins Gold Glove at shortstop. Yeah, when you're drafting this guy, at this point of the round, you're psyched.
I mean, I agree with you on his defense. Just looking at him right now, he looks like a guy that's going to crush fucking lefties and not be able to hit righty. I mean, he's probably a 260 guy, which I'm completely fine with that at shortstop. I mean, he's going to hit you home runs because he has good power versus lefties and righties. His contact isn't all that great, but it'll come up. You know what I mean? He's got room to move. I'd throw him at second base. It doesn't look like he has. If you look at his stats and his defense, it doesn't look like he has the arm strength or the accuracy to throw to first base from shortstop. I'd throw him in at second, but that's me personally. Those stats may mean nothing, but I automatically look at that and I'm like, nah, throw him at second because he doesn't look like he can make the throw from short.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing that's possible. I haven't actually looked at how well arm progresses in terms of that. I think it does progress a little bit, but it may not significantly. And I definitely was going to point out about the contact. Contact versus righties is going to be a little bit lagging. However, it's still above overall. And honestly, this is one of those cases like his eye is fairly atrocious, but and it will lag a little bit behind in terms of that. However, does he really need to have such a good eye? And that's kind of the question. If he's just going to mash when he does make contact and just get straight outs, then maybe that's not a bad thing because Texas has those big Arlington field where if he does hit something to the gap, which I know he doesn't have that rating, but just pure power is going to go to a gap. He's going to be able to run those bases. So
yeah,
he'll be fun to watch. Speaking of fun to watch, Justin Wheelock, right fielder, taken by the Royals with the next pick, in his last year of high school, hit .610 with a 1702 OPS.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm just like, oh, it's okay.
Must have faced just lefties.
Nothing great, nothing great, nothing to call home about. He walked twice as much as he struck out. But yeah, and he looks to be a solid right fielder. Though without an arm, I don't know how that translates over here in 18. But in 14, you want a big arm in right field, and he does not have that big arm. Even though on defense his arm strength is high, but his throwing accuracy is balls. So not sure how that's gonna fit. But his bat looks pretty. It just looks very pretty. I mean, you look at the guy that's 18, 74 overall, already has a 79 contact, 80 power, 87 gap power, 75 eye. I mean, you're just looking at a dominating bat, like an absolutely dominating type bat. The guy's going to hit home runs, hit doubles. Oh God, he's pretty.
Yeah, he is. I agree with you. And he scores a lot too. Let me see with his skills, and he has a lot of. Well, he's not really that fast of a guy either. But
well, of course he scores a lot, Dan. Chicks love the long ball.
They do. Oh my God, I hate you.
I feel your hatred. It just makes me stronger.
Coming right through. It's all over the place.
Giggity.
No, I agree with you. He's going to be a great bat, and I would probably defensive wise, he doesn't look bad. He doesn't look like he's not going to hurt you. Defense, I mean, glove work's tad low, but even that, everything else is nice. I'd throw him in left field.
That is his best fit.
I mean, actually, honestly, with that arm, in that range, his fielding's good enough. I'd probably, if you don't have a good center fielder, I may put him there. If you can find yourself a center fielder with some speed, obviously I would put him in left, but I wouldn't keep him in right. I would have 78 arm.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, honestly, there's not a whole lot to dislike about him.
No.
However, there is one thing that always makes me cautious. And
is he Asian? Did I miss that?
No, he's from Gilreath Mill, South Carolina.
South Carolina. Oh, so he's from where Mass is from. That's a red flag.
Oh God.
But in terms of that, the thing that I don't like is his health. So
yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to point out that injuries are a little crushing, but
are they? I haven't noticed.
Yeah, that's 66 health.
No one's lost anyone yet.
Yeah,
fantastic.
I think everyone's actually lost a player, which is like the best. Well, except for Jason. Jason is the only person who hasn't, and he's the one that says he loves severity where it's at. But karma will probably bite him on the last sim or something. But in terms of that 66 health is a scary thing. I never really know how health is in terms of sometimes like what might say 66 health is really a 61. It kind of is one of those things where you never really know how the health is going to work out. If he gets injured, then that's a problem. That being said, if he doesn't get injured, he is going to have a 93 peak with low health. And at that point, that is literally just pure skills because health has such an impact on overall and peaks.
Yeah, he's going to be a monster who might spend half the year on the DL, but for the other half, he's just going to put up MVP type numbers.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll take the chance. Like, I'll take that chance. So, speaking of chances taken, Jordan Tate, 18-year-old catcher.
Yeah. Way to just talk over Angels, motherfucker.
What?
Nothing.
What I do now?
No. We're just gonna keep going. Go ahead.
Oh, did you not talk about the last guy?
Yeah, I talked about him. I was trying to throw some puns in, but no, since you have to have you're the pun guy. Keep going. No. Go ahead.
I will. Anyway, Justin Tate, 18-year-old, got a 90 arm. But does that translate to throwing out runners? It translates to preventing steals, but not throwing out runners once again. His frame pitching is bad. I'm not sure how much of an issue that is going to be, but it is not good. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. But he's already got 71 contact, 81 gap power. His eye is a fair amount above his overall. His power is lagging a little bit behind, so he's going to be more of a doubles guy than a home run guy, but you like the bat. You like the bat quite a bit. He's going to smoke some balls to the gap, score some runs. He's going to hit well for average. He has an eye, so he's probably going to walk a fair amount. The one issue, again, that you're going to have is that he's not going to frame pitches well, so it will detract a little bit from his ability as a catcher to kind of manage those games, throw out those runners, and frame those pitches so his guys can get more strikeouts.
No, I agree with you completely. And that does worry me about the framing pitching. If it works into overall pitching and you have a guy who has, isn't the highest control guy, I don't know if it'll produce it, but it scares you to wonder if your walk rate for your pitchers is going to go up with him. But his bat's going to play really nice. I mean, he's got the eye, he's got the gap power, he's got the contact. His righty contact is actually up there. You know what I mean? It's for being a righty. I mean, and his gap power, 82, 81, like you said, he's going to be cracking doubles all over the place.
Yeah, he was a guy that, as the Boston love to have because I'll just put him in the lineup and let him take shots at that pesky pole and that green monster all day.
Yeah, I kind of put him as Bidwell Jr., but without being able to frame pitches. And framing pitches is 100% an important thing. It's literally part of the reason my rotation has always been good in FCM. It's one of the main things I look at.
Does FCM have handling pitches? Am I just missing
It's
something
called
very
handling.
blatant?
It's called handling.
Oh yeah, okay, no, never mind. Yeah, I always try to get a.
Yeah.
It
No, I tried
like
to get a guy
it
like that
may
too.
yeah, like it may be called something a little bit different, and obviously like they've just broken it down more, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
and I'm looking at my
Yeah.
catch right. Is literally called handling pitchers.
yeah,
And actually, his
so
handling is not as good as I thought. So
your game management, if I'm not mistaken, probably has something to do with what type of pitches that they're throwing and whether you're going to throw like a sinker when it's like a runners on first and second, right? So like pitch calling, and then your framing pitches is like the control piece of obviously if someone's throwing it close to the outside. I may be breaking it down way too much, but I think that's kind of the idea that it has. I just don't know what effect it has, and that's where it's probably going to take a couple seasons to compare a pitcher that has no control with a catcher that has good framing pitches versus a pitcher with the exact same vitals but a catcher that can't frame pitches, and see what the difference is.
you're right. That's gonna be very interesting to see if the good frame catcher can make good pitches good pitchers amazing and bad pitchers mediocre to okay. Because and that'll be important for other reasons too. But I'll keep those to myself.
Yeah. And also, like, I just kind of want to touch his eye is pretty decent as well. However, with that, his decision making and first and third is kind of mediocre. And the last thing you want is like he's definitely not a Speedy Gonzalez because he's a catcher, but you don't want him to just taking up that second base and then have someone really fast right behind him, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to have Chubster McGee.
Probably not. But it'll see. It'll be interesting. All right.
That being said, let's go to Temple.
Yeah. Temple, Derek Temple, first third baseman taken off the board. I'm looking at this right. Okay, yeah. I'm defense looks good. Not the best, but good. We are Hick. Not because we have to, but because we can. It looks good. It does. Especially if it's going to get a little bit better, then you're looking at the guy that should stick at third and should play it very well. The bat, though, I'm not liking the bat. He's got the gap power. I don't think the eye is. I think the eye is going to be hurting. I think it's going to lag. I think the power is going to lag. And I think the contact's not going to get where you need it to be or want it to be. I think he'll hit lefties fine. I don't think he's going to hit righties very well. So I'm a bit confused and a bit concerned at why this pick was taken here, unless really you're taking him for the defense and just hoping everything else might come along.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on the bat. I mean, if the righty contact gets mid to upper 70s, you're fucking ecstatic. I don't even know if it'll get to that. He'll have some throwing errors, but Mogul just seems to dump errors on most third basemen, no matter how good they are. So, but I'm with you. Maybe it was defense. Maybe it was kind of the guess. But I don't know if this was. I'm trying to think. I don't think there was still. I still have to imagine there have been better guys on the board at this point in time. And I think this guy could have been grabbed as a second rounder because with your first round pick, he seems too much of a hope for me. You know what I mean? He seems too much of a like I hope this guy gets a bat. Where I think he probably could have fell to you in the second round, then you still would have got him.
Yeah, he's pretty much the worst pick so far.
I hate to say that, but yeah, I mean he kind of looks to be that.
Yeah. Now that being said, I will admit, like, I can kind of maybe understand Tampa Bay's thought process. Do they really need pitching? Like they have a I thought Brent Honeywell was younger, but they have a whole lot of pitching that looks absolutely phenomenal. Like they're stacked, and then shortstop, they're stacked.
You could always take another pitcher.
Absolutely.
You don't
Uh,
Yeah.
draft for if you're drafting for team need, you're fucking yourself in the face.
Yeah.
No,
Like honestly,
100%.
you draft you take
Grabbing
the
a
New York
pitcher, grabbing
Giants
a
draft
pitcher.
strategy. You take the best
Yep.
player available. Fuck everything else.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can always buy a third baseman.
Yeah,
This
you make
is a
it
true statement.
work some other way. You draft the best players that are left on the board. Now again, if you want to be a little bit picky, draft the best hitter or the best pitcher based on which side you want to go. But don't draft just the best third baseman or the best shortstop or the best. Draft the best player available. If it happens to be one of those positions, mazel tov. If not, don't fuck yourself.
And I mean, let's all be honest. The best third baseman in the first round, happened 8 picks later. So that's one bonus, but I don't know. There's just not a whole lot there to like. There's
The
definitely
defense. That's
yeah.
about it.
Maybe it's the gap
Yeah.
power. Maybe it's just hit for the gap.
Well,
And
if I
just
remember correctly, Tampa's got one of
right.
those gappy kind of fields to it. So yeah, maybe he's trying to play to his strength, get a good defender that's going to just smoke the ball into the deep parts of the gap. But no, draft the best player there. Don't reach.
Yeah.
You want to reach in the second, reach in the third. Don't reach in the first.
But sometimes you just have to reach for that talent.
Yes, and then you get a guy like happens sometimes in FCM where you take a second baseman in the mid first, and then he craps out on you in 2 seasons.
Yeah. And you're fucking And there
Now,
goes your
and now I want to look because that was Deck. Deck took a guy that went at least a round and a half early, and I blasted him for it in my draft review, and then I was just proven completely right, and I didn't say anything because I'm a good person.
nice emphasis on that T there.
Also, I just
Really.
gave the greatest pun, and you literally just didn't even take it.
What, going deep in the gap?
No, you got to reach for that
sorry.
talent, and then look who the next pick is.
Oh yeah, I definitely let that one slide. Which funny 'cause I had Luke and his talent all ready to go. Giggity. Anyway, so yes, Luke Talent, 19-year-old starting pitcher. One of the better ones we've seen in the last few picks, I think. He's not necessarily the best. I hear you already. Yeah, his command and movement are a little bit, but
No, I saw his drop already, and he doesn't have a birthday.
oh, when's his birthday? His birthday's in December. He dropped.
Yeah, he dropped. I mean, he only dropped. Looks like 1 or 2,
One.
but still.
Looks like 1.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's something. That's okay. No, that could be a concern. Other than that, though, big fastball, good hard curve, giggity, and a circle change is at his overall. Good control. His command is at his overall, so if it stays close, it shouldn't be too much of a home run issue. And he's got power. Like he's not, you know, and apparently he has batting stats. What the fuck?
Well, yeah, because
he does.
Okay, but how do you hit 2,143?
I don't know, but honestly, I'd move him. I'd move him to hitter. Look at those vitals.
Yeah.
He had no. I am sorry. He had 15 hits and 7 at bats.
Oh, there you go. Would you get
seven at bats? He had 12 runs, 15 hits, 5 doubles, 5 homers.
Well, I'm just gonna say this: if you move him to a hitter,
and just like that, the Cardinals found out how to break the new mogul. No, but I mean, as a pitcher, yeah, his home runs the one season was bad, and the rest have been not so bad. So it'll be very interesting to see how he is as a pitcher, not as a broken ass hitter. Well, let's be fair, he also has stolen more bases than some of those guys with 95 speed. So, take it as it will.
Makes up for it by batting in the home runs.
He does have a higher overall end peak as a pitcher. I wanted to check and see. So he is a better pitcher than hitter, but it could be interesting because maybe he is going to turn into that Rick Ankiel that the Cards know oh so well.
Now, does that work in 18? Because I've tried to make Andy let me do that in 14, and he yells at me every time I try.
Yeah, literally, I just change it, and it actually because they all actually have the proper stats, it's fine.
Son of a bitch. There was a
Because I
couple
did
guys
that.
I drafted in FCM that I'm like, can I make this guy a hitter? And then he's like, why? I'm like, because he has 100 hitting. And then he's like, no. I'm like, well, that
Yeah.
sucks.
No, so because he has that 73 lefties and 67 righties contact, that would just transition over. So that part would stay the same. It wouldn't become 100 hitting. The 100 hitting in FCM in 2014 is kind of a glitch.
Oh, yeah. I knew it was a glitch, but still, I was like, yeah, this guy's not that great pitcher. Fuck it, let's make him a hitter.
Yeah.
I was told no.
Well, I'm okay with that because I actually did it for Hick because he moved Shohei Otani at the beginning of the season.
Well, right. Well, then that makes sense because that dude is legitimately a hitter and a hitter, which are few and far in between, really. But it's a thing, apparently. But let's not be a Dolphus, and let's talk about some Yanceys. Double one. It wasn't good, but I'll take it.
Yeah, it was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
I know. Well,
Yeah,
listen,
you gotta be embarrassed for shit like that, dude.
I'm too old to be embarrassed anymore.
No,
Yeah.
not a Dolph. Hick, go back.
Yeah, Hick's fine. I know it was a reach, Percy. Listen, fuck, I had a try. Donkey was all proud because he did one and I missed it, so I just slide a double one in there and it didn't work. Oh,
Oh, I would say that in his trades.
wow, taking it from both ends, just like Dan. All right,
let's
so
roll that down. How's that feel?
Oh, I love that. I definitely heard that, MZ.
I thought that was a good one. All right, so anyway, Yancey looks to hit like a Yancey. I mean, his contact is just terrible. Got decent power, got good gap power, and has got a great eye, and has speed that might actually be speed. Let's look, and it
Yeah,
is
it's
speed. That's
speed.
actually speed.
Yeah.
So it
And
looks like
great
that mid to
defense, too.
upper 80 speed is what the speed you're actually looking for when you're looking for a speedy speed runner
A
guy.
speed runner.
Speedy
Yeah.
speedrunner
Yeah.
guy. Dan, don't sell me short here.
Oh,
And his defense looks okay. It looks like he'll be a pretty good left fielder, not a center field, I don't think, like they say. Though with that speed and that range, maybe he'd be okay in center. But I'd leave him in left and just let him run wild. Um,
I
I
don't
think
know. This guy I'd keep in center. I
you
don't know
think.
why I wouldn't move him. I wouldn't move him to left. I mean, granted, he doesn't have that strong of an arm, but I don't know. I mean, when you look at his numbers, lateral 91 coming in, going out, is above average. Glove work is there. I mean, yeah, he is. I mean, you in the you know in the best case scenario, you'd want to go with probably 5 ticks more on the range. But if, like Koki says, the range and shit starts moving, I mean, he's not that bad of a center fielder. He just can't hit worth a shit. You
Right,
know, I mean,
and
he's either
that's his
out
problem.
of the park or into a gap, or he's going to hit it to the pitcher.
Right, that low contact is going to be now. Again, it's relatively high against lefties, like so he might be okay against lefties, but still, somebody this with all the other stuff going for him, you don't want to use him as. It'd be unfortunate if that's what you have to do with him.
Yeah, you don't want to platoon in center field or left field. That's just not, you know what I mean?
And he's already had a birthday. Well, happy birthday to him, Hick.
Yeah. I mean, for me, not to do comparisons or anything, but 12 picks earlier, there's a James McGillivray
Stop making me
and
do math.
Yancey Dolphus. I mean, looks relatively the same, except one actually has proper speed. Yeah, it should kind of be interesting to see how those two play out. I would also say that Yancey has better eye, or has the better eye. So
Yeah.
should
And he's
kind of be interesting that way as well.
right. Because this oh, sorry, I don't mean to talk over you, but this is like a build you never see in FCM, where he has speed and power and no contact. Like he's like a unicorn in everything that I've been used to ever seeing. So it'll be, and he's not going to hit the ball, but he can run whenever he does hit, whatever he does hit. But yeah, he's unique.
What's his? Oh yeah, I was gonna say Bunting was, but his Bunting's not any good. That's too bad. So I also missed checks over at FCM, so that's great.
Like you got to matter. You're fucking 11 out.
Oh, fuck you. All right. So Mark Olson, Miami, 18-year-old first baseman. Fielding looks fine for a first baseman. Bat looks great for anybody. So big contact, big gap power, big eye, and actual power is lacking a little bit. It's up against lefties, down against righties, so that is a little bit of a concern for me. Because when you see a power hitting first baseman, you're looking for that home run guy, and this seems to be more of an average guy that's going to hit you a bunch of doubles. Which again, you take the production as you can get it. It's going to be interesting to see how he plays once he hits the majors. I'm also surprised that some of the bats taken recently, go back to the Tampa Bay pick, who was just trash, why they wouldn't take a chance on this guy instead.
Yeah, no, I like him. I like him too. I think, like you say, he's got a good bat. He's a first baseman, so I mean, 79 for a first baseman is just fine for me. He looks like he looks like a good five guy. Whoever your cleanup guy isn't going to knock in, this guy's going to bring him in.
Yeah, well, I think even at first base, look, he's got 83 lateral, 82 coming in, 85 going back. Like that's not bad.
No,
He's not going to be booting the ball around. Sure, he's not
no,
going to be able to throw from first to second without sailing it into right field, but
yeah,
just don't let him do it.
no. I mean, he's not going to be a guy who's going to dig a ball out from third base with that glove work. But I also don't think Mogul doesn't seem to punish the first baseman with lower than average gloves, but he's probably going to. You're looking at maybe 5 errors a season, which for first baseman, you can't complain about that. It's a good, solid pick where he's at.
Yeah,
I have no problem. He's a nice, good
no,
pick.
I like the big. I mean, again, I'm surprised he might not have gone even a little bit earlier, but
He should have gone earlier.
I think the reason they didn't go earlier is honestly just he's the first baseman, and I don't think there's many. And I know we're not talking about drafting for need, but there's a lot of first basemen in this league.
yes, I
like you
know.
said,
I traded mine for like 3 picks and 2 other good prospects.
yeah. Wow. And honestly, the only downside to Olson is 60 power.
Yeah, no, again, the lack of actual home run power. First baseman, Dan's right. Put him in the 5th 5 hole, let him hit doubles, and just knock whoever's left on base in, and you're okay.
Yep.
All right, Nick Blanton, the first relief pitcher off the board. 20-year-old with a fastball that says yay, and then a curveball that says oh. Throws 101 miles an hour. Good control, great power, movements right where it needs to be. Commands a little bit. But when you look at his kind of through this point, I mean, unlike some of the other guys, he's 20, a little bit older. Some of these other draftees pitched 2 years in college. Even with that lower command, again, relief pitcher, sure, but hasn't given up many home runs. That first year of college, he gave up 34 innings, none the second year. So maybe the home runs won't be the issue that you expect. It's an interesting pitcher. It'll be fun to see how he develops into a potential closer.
Yeah, I like him. I like him as closer setup guy. Either or. I don't know if I kind of like my closers to have more than one pitch. Setup, I would have no problem just plopping him right into the setup. And not only that, like you look at his skills, and he's got that nice little stair climb fucking progression going. And I mean, this guy could I mean, this guy could turn out in the peak 96, 98 range if that stair keeps going up, and or you give him a nice little winter ball bump. Great power, great fastball. Like I said, that one other pitch kind of is crappy. I'd drop him in the setup role and let him sit there for 10, 12 seasons, just fucking throwing 100 miles an hour and let your closer come in right behind him. This dude's going to be a fucking beast with that fastball. But that's all he has. Like, this guy's no different than, he's the exact same as the starter that, we saw however many picks before. And when I saw that starter, I thought the exact same thing, setup guy. Throw him in the eighth inning, let him throw 100 miles an hour, let guys, if they can catch him, they can catch him, but catch up to it and forget about him in the setup role.
Yeah, you might not be wrong. Here's what happens. This was my pick. Again, like I said at the very start of this podcast, when I'm in new leagues, especially new leagues in 17 and 18, I always go pitching. Like, I always have to take pitching. That is my number one goal. And the pitching was pretty goddamn picked over to this point. So when I'm looking through who's left, I said, this guy, have to take this guy. He looks very good. There are a couple bruises, a couple blemishes on him, but I got to take this guy. I think he's the best left. And again, maybe I picked hastily and didn't look through some of the other ones enough. I mean, I'm sure Hoagie's going to come on and say, you missed this fucker. And I'm going to be like, oh, maybe I did. But you're right. I saw the stair climb, and that's kind of what sold it for me. I'm like, he's already stair climbing. Maybe that's the thing in 18. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a little bit more wonky, but I got to grab him. And my goal is always in all my leagues is to build a good bullpen. And this is going to go a long way to do that.
Yeah, no, actually, I love that pick. That was one of the guys I was kind of hoping that would drop to the second. I kind of figured most people don't actually care about building bullpen. So in terms of that, I was kind of hoping he was going to drop, but he did not. So yeah, he's definitely going to be pretty much like your Kimbrel type closer.
Well, good. Then I'll couple him with Kimbrel and just be happy.
Exactly. So I mean, you can't say anything bad about that. Honestly, ninth inning command really does not matter that much. I don't think. Not too often does a closer actually have that many problems. He could actually also transition to a starting pitcher, and that was actually one of the things I was debating if I could get him, whether I would do that, because he is my prototypical style pitcher.
Yeah, I thought never even crossed my mind. I saw the 20. If he had a 40 endurance, yeah, maybe I'd bump him up. If he had a 60, I'd absolutely turn him into a starter. But at that 20, no, I want that to go down a little bit more. I want him to be a true closer. Or as Dan said, it might be a good spot for him too. So, but we'll move out of the great Boston pick and move on to the Cubs, who took a first baseman as well. His name is Ryan Meltzer. Defense, pretty good fielder, it looks like, for first base. Again, not as much of an issue. I mean, even David Ortiz went on first base on occasion, but he's got a killer eye. Got a big eye, got some good power, got some decent contact. One of those is going to lag. If anything, I'm going to guess it might be the power. And the gap power is a little bit low. So not the first baseman that I would love to see, just with his power, gap power being so close to his overall. I mean, now when you're looking, yeah, no, because I mean, if you look at his power too, his lefty versus righty, it's identical or one below. So it's not gonna be a power guy. He's gonna be a contact eye guy, and that's not ideal for first base unless he has that gap power, which he doesn't really have. Except as I see now against lefties, it looks like it'll be okay, but. Again, you don't want to draft a platoon guy even in the later first round. You want somebody that's going to be a good all-around player, and I just don't think he's quite that guy.
Yeah, no, he's like Joe average to me, especially at first base. If he had defense with those numbers, he'd be like, I'd be happy with him at second or shortstop, but not at first base with those offensive numbers. He's just, there's nothing, you know what I mean? There's nothing that jumps out. You want you want like a couple picks beforehand where he's either going to have that gap power where he can drive in runs with the extra base hits, or he's going to have a pure power number, and this guy doesn't have it. Like this guy's he's a number 2 guy, but you don't want your first baseman sitting in the 2 hole in your batting lineup. You want him at 4, 5, or 6, and this guy isn't going to be sitting at 4, 5, or 6.
No.
Yeah, honestly, I think this is like the interesting pick where it really just kind of depends. Normal build, if you were looking at him in 2014, like to have contact, power, and eye all above his overall, like everyone would be like, well, yeah, obviously let's take him because he's gonna hit that with his peak. The problem is we've seen all these hitters with 75 contact and they're 61 overall and 18. And I'm curious to see whether that is just kind of a something where if he does progress the normal route of 2014, all of a sudden he has that contact at 90, he has that power at 90, he has that gap power at 90, and his eye's going to be a 90. All of a sudden, what you guys have just said ends up being
Right.
the opposite, right?
Look like idiots.
Like I think he has the potential where everything is kind of evened, where he doesn't necessarily have something that's going to lag behind, I don't think.
It'll be interesting to see, but you may be right. Again,
I see where you're saying that too,
guys.
because his eye is already an 81. So Mogul isn't going to dump a shitload of points into an eye that's already 81. It's going to distribute them more up a little bit more, and they're already pretty even, so they could all go up together very nicely. So I see where you're seeing it from that. Yeah, if you're looking at it from that end.
Yeah. And his lefty righty stats will actually look pretty similar. Like the difference of 6 is not that big. For contact and for power, it's 1.
Yeah, time will tell. Now let's move on to Ryan, the late Luke Perry's son. He is a left-handed pitcher, also taken by the Cubs. Current use is a spot starter, which is a little bit weird, but all right, all right, all right. I don't know. I got big power. Control and command are both slightly above his overall. Movement's exactly there, so I'm not entirely sure how he will pan out, but he doesn't seem to have a home run problem, so that's a good first start. And some of those seasons he's striking out a lot more than he's walking out, so I like him. Good fastball, solid curve, cutter is going to be there, but not great. So it'll be very interesting to see kind of how he moves along as he develops. I'm going to watch him kind of carefully, so I'll be very curious to see what happens with him.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I don't see he's the guy. He's a guy who, when you look at him, I see why they. I mean, I don't know if Mogul did this, if Chicago or if you threw him here, Hokie, but he's a 5 guy, or he's a guy. I had a guy when I made my run in FCM. I had a guy like this that all his vitals were nice. He wasn't a guy that you would. He could sit in your 5 hole if you don't have a great. If you don't have a big stable of pitchers, he could play your 5. He could sit in your 5 hole in the rotation, but he also looks like a guy that you could just drop in that spot starter. So when you have those 5-day, 7-day, 9-day innings, this guy's going to pick up the ball, and you have no problem with him picking up the ball, knowing that he's probably going to give you, 7-4 or 6-5 type record in that spot starter role for you. At an 86 overall, 88 maybe.
Yeah. I know Jason just posted that he didn't even notice it, so for him it was definitely accidental, but I definitely could see that. I definitely think he's your end of rotation type guy. Once again, it just kind of depends. It's kind of a cop out, I guess, in saying, it will be interesting to see how he jumps, but there's nothing that outside of his power. Like his power is fantastic. Everything else is kind of just right around his overall. So it just kind of depends if his movement really jumps up and command and control kind of stay within that range, then he could easily be a good 4 or 5. But he's never going to be that guy that you need to rely on.
Right.
And I think it just kind of depends what your thoughts were. If you want to round out your rotation, then there's that. If you were trying to go for that ace type pitcher, which I know I'm generally someone that likes to go all in or fail miserably in pitching, or at least like if I fail, they become serviceable. Then uh, it, that's really the way you have to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. If this guy doesn't make my rotation, he's at least going to be in my bullpen. And that's where I see this guy. If he doesn't make your rotation, he's either your spot starter or he's your, one of your middle relievers, but he's definitely going to make your staff. He isn't just going to die out on your bench.
Yeah.
All right. And with that, we move on to Kurt McGill, who is an 18-year-old outfielder, who might have the arm to actually stick in the outfield. It's going to be interesting to see. His arm strength, throw accuracy is not bad, a lot better than what we've seen to this point. And he's got that 89 speed, so when you look over to the skills tab, holy shit, he can actually use it. Fantastic. Now, as far as the rest of him goes, he's got the huge gap power. His eye and power are kind of where you want to see them a little bit in FCM, and his contact's a little bit above too. It'll be interesting to see how this develops because it looks like he's going to have good power against lefties, going to have decent contact and really good gap power against both sides of the field. But his eye is going to be lagging a little bit. I don't quite get to where you want it. It might get to the high 70s, maybe to 80. So he should be still a good hitter. But it might be just against lefties, in which case you platoon them. But again, you hate to pick guys knowing that you're going to probably have to platoon their ass once they get there.
I don't know. I look at this guy and I think for a right fielder, like this, I see this guy, like if I'm drafting and and I'm looking and most of the rest of my outfielder looks good. This is a guy like Andy always says, I don't care if one of my corner outfielders isn't fucking great. As long as I know I can put him out there and he's okay if my center and my left fielder are good. And this guy seems to fit that mold. Like his contact's there. I think his contact will go up. His eye, I think, and this is just feel, you know what I mean? Nothing based on, I think his eye will be what lags behind on him. But he's not perfect. But at this point in the draft in the first round, he's a nice pick for this spot. His defense isn't bad. Like I'm not looking at his lateral and coming in are not above 80, but he's in right field. So not that big of a deal. Everything else is in the 80s. So in a right fielder, I don't mind that. His throwing accuracy is just a couple clicks below average, but I think with his gap power, I think and his speed, I don't know. I kind of like this guy because his righties, it's 60, so that worries me a little bit. But when we were talking in the pod a couple of days ago, it's not in the 50s. So
Right.
You know what I mean? Like as soon as I see a guy when I'm scouting a guy and I see that like a contact starting out at 62 because he's at 58. You know what I mean? He's 18 years old. So if he was 20, I wouldn't even look at this guy for hitting wise. But the fact that he's 18 and he's at 60, I wouldn't. And I was picking here, I'd probably take him. If his righties was anywhere like 56, 57, 58, no, I wouldn't take him. But he has good potential for where he's starting at 18 years old. Like I said, if he was 20 or if that righties is in the 50s, no, I'm not taking him.
Right.
Yeah. Honestly, I like him. I think that it's probably not a pitcher not a outfielder that I would necessarily take. But he's definitely got that gap power. I think everything will kind of move up. It's just going to be, as you guys said, the eye legs behind, and generally this is a a GD pick. I don't know what it is, but it somehow always works out.
Oh,
I,
is that Liz, I'm glad you know whoever GM is.
yeah, well,
I,
I mean, it's kind of my thing, right? Probably should
well,
know.
it's supposed to be your thing. I'm glad you do. Listen, I'm just saying, because fuck if I do. I know who Dan is. Outside of that, honestly, it's a crapshoot. Which makes me sound like a terrible person, but fuck people. All right, so Christopher Huber, whatever, went to Milwaukee in a draft day deal with the Red Sox, and seems to be the best third baseman of the first round taken. So that's a good thing. He has a very nice looking bat, high contact, great gap power, decent regular power. I might be a little bit of a concern, and he has that speed. That is it a real speed? Ooh, it is not real speed. Not real speed. That is unfortunate. Not real speed. He's going to crush lefties. I mean, he's just going to crush lefties. A little bit of an issue I think he's going to have against righties. And his defense is solid if not quite good. Really good arm. I think he'll fit very nicely over at third base. I like this pick. I like it quite a bit. Not to the point that I regret trading it, but I do like this pick quite a bit. I think they did a good job here.
Yeah, I mean, my only question for you is, did you take him because he had 86 speed?
I didn't take him. I didn't take him. I traded this pick as the pick was supposed to be made. I traded him for Grandal and that motherfucking pitcher that couldn't pitch for shit. That's him.
Damn
But he
it.
didn't get injured, so at
I
least
hope J-Main deletes that last sentence right there.
Which sentence?
The one I made. Now I feel stupid.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, outside of that,
it's very easy. All you have to say is, Jermaine, fix that in post.
yeah,
And then he makes a note to not do that and then make fun of you for asking him to fix it in post.
that's true. But in terms of that, overall, I still like the pick. I mean, yeah, whatever. I don't think anyone's really picking him because of his speed. I think they're taking him because he has 75 contact, 74 gap power, 68 power, and who really cares about the eye? Because maybe he doesn't walk, but his strikeouts don't look super horrendous.
No, and he'll be a good defender. And I think
Yeah.
that is one of the things that you really focus on with him, is that he's going to be a good defender at the hot corner. And in any game, that is a good place to have a good defender.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Much better than the first third baseman that was picked. Whoever picked him, sorry.
Don't be. They made a mistake. They need to know about it.
Yeah, okay. All right. So we'll just crush on him. But yeah, I like this guy. I like the contact. I like
who made that pick, by the way?
That was franchise. He's Tampa Bay.
Okay, he's not an FCM. We're good.
Yeah, okay. Well, it wouldn't matter if he was. I rip on them more than anybody else.
Well, you should, but
yeah, I know. It just feels good to throw a dig in every so often because they never get in our pod, so they deserve it. So, yeah, hey, you know what I mean? But no, I do. I like that contact. I like the gap power. I like the fact that he has power over his overall. Like you said, I'm not worried about the eye because I have good defense, good contact, good power, good gap. If the eye's not there, so what? He may strike out a little bit once he gets into the majors, but everything else is going to play.
All right. Well, moving on to another lefty. There seems to be a lot of lefties taken in the first round. Brad Parks, 18-year-old pitcher, went to the Nationals. Yeah, here's the thing. So you love the fastball. You love the circle change. You're okay with the hard curve. You're good with the speed of his pitches. You're good with the ground ball percentage. It's not ideal, but it's a 40, and that's standard. So that's good. You love the command. You love the power. You love the movement, and then you see the control, and you're like, oh my god, he's gonna fucking walk people. And then you start to worry a little bit. But you look at his minor league numbers, and those last 3 years of high school, he struck out twice as many as he walked. You like to see that. His OBA was low, real low. Like to see that as well. And everything else seemed to be not too bad. He doesn't seem to have a home run problem. So if as much as we want to be like, ooh, that control's terrible, he's going to be bad, he might not be. He might be able to get that control just high enough to still be a very effective pitcher.
Until he hits A ball.
Well, he's in A ball now, and he's doing quite well. So
Really? 11 walks over 8 Ks?
I didn't say
It shows up the first time he gets into the pro ball. That's why, you know
he's
what I
only
mean?
yeah, well, you're right. His defensive ERA is double what his actual ERA is. So yeah, so something weird's going on there. But you're right. That control could be a major issue. If it could somehow get up
Command's
into
there,
the
so
almost
the good thing about it, the command's there, so he's not going to give up like grand slams.
no,
He's going to put a lot of guys on base.
yes, and it's gonna really if you could put a good defense behind him, you might be able to get through with him as a back end of the rotation starter, which is unfortunate because if that control was just say 7 higher, you're looking at a very good pitcher.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. This was Decker's pick, and so I kind of helped him with that. And
So we're noticing a trend here, and I'm going to call it out now. That you're really helping people take bad pitchers.
Yeah.
that must be what it
Like
is.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know
you
how to
can't
draft
it's
really
like
pitchers.
do.
it's like
So
weird. It's like weird.
it's
You
kind
pick good
of,
ones in FCM, so everybody thinks you're going to pick good ones here, and then you
I
just
mean,
lead
Pete
them
might say
astray.
something about this.
So here's my thought, and this is why I thought he was good. He is essentially what I just talked about when you were talking about Blanton, or no, not Blanton, Perry. He is your 100%. He's either ace or he probably ends up being trash. And at pick 27, and a Strasburg injury that's like 300 days. At that point, it's one of those things. You just take that risk. So with that, I thought the command and power and movement are all so much higher than overall, which looks fantastic that way. So his command should be that he's not going to give a ton of home runs up, which is good for a lefty. On the flip side, yeah, his control is garbage. But what if his control finishes in around that 70, 75? Then it doesn't become so terrible because if you walk someone, if you walk someone every inning, then there's not that problem because if they're not going to then hit the ball after, you don't have to worry about them scoring. Uh, you know, I don't think we have to worry about people stealing home in the middle of a game. So if you're only going to walk a guy, he really can't score unless you make contact.
I'll tell you one guy that will not ever steal home. That's Atlanta's guy. But you're right. I think it's again it might be different. I mean, obviously they're different, but I mean, if he gets to the 75 to 80 range with that, I feel good about him. If he gets below that, I start to have even more concern. So, but let's not stop here. Let's move on to Jacob Dixon. He is a 20-year-old guy that went to the Bears. I don't know. Good, solid fastball, solid curve. Changeup's a little bit meh. This guy, he does have very good control, but the command's what's lagging. Solid power, okay movement. I don't know. I don't feel great about this guy, and it's not just any one thing. It's just a kind of one of those feelings you get that's there's something about him that I'm just not digging a lot. And I can't really quite put my finger on what it is.
Mm,
Could be that his command's relatively low, his movement's relatively low, and his fastball and curve are all low. Nothing really sticks
yeah.
out, right? He's just that.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, he's a
He's
spot
just
starter. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
he's that
he
guy.
is what he is, and that
Yeah.
nothing.
He's not horrible. He's not gonna. You're not gonna anchor your rotation on him. He's just your average Joe pitcher, I think.
Yeah.
And it just like you said, and it'll depend because we don't know what's going to happen. It'll depend. Will his movement move? And you know what I mean? He's not going to walk guys, and then he's not going to give up a lot of base hits. Or his command going to come up, and he's not going to walk guys and hit home runs and give up multiple, 3-run home runs. But he's going to also have a 300 OBA. You know what I mean? So it depends on which one of those moves to what this guy's going to do, I think.
Yeah. I mean, you should just be happy. Jacob and his family are happy in Milwaukee.
They are.
And
I
that's
mean, who
what
doesn't like
counts.
being a Brewer? Yeah.
Their happiness is of my utmost concern at all times.
I mean,
Um,
being a Pirate, I hope he throws him in his rotation at like in the 3-hole. That's
yeah,
all I'm saying.
well, you're a terrible person. All right, so let's move on
I
to
am,
another. Let's move
but
on
I'm
to another
honest.
pitcher that looks identical to the last one, but it's somehow a little bit worse. That is Jose Uriola. Total guess. Don't fucking care. Yeah, I don't. He apparently does have the home run problem. Unlike the last guy, this guy gave up 12 home runs in his first year of college. You look at a guy with 57 overall, 60 control, 57 command, 77 power, 56 movement, and the pitches are almost identical to the last guy. 64 fastball. I think they are identical. 66 slider and the 56 circle change. I don't like him. Like the last guy was on the fence, but I couldn't put my finger on it. This guy, I legit just do not like. He gave up too many home runs, um, and ugh, especially as a righty, I just don't. No, I'm not a fan.
I'm not a fan either. The control's too low.
Yeah, this is actually probably the first pitcher that I genuinely don't think is going to do a whole lot. But maybe he surprises.
You're
But
such an optimist.
well, I try.
Well, that's
He,
You just
wait a
get
second.
you're just like that silver lining guy. You know what I mean?
yeah. Like
Well, well,
maybe you get lucky, right? Like maybe because this is Ryan's pick, so maybe Ryan sends him to winter ball and he gets a good jump, and all of a sudden we look like tool bags. That's pretty much what you're hoping,
by we you
because
mean me and Dan,
Okie,
since you're
we
trying to
don't
be
look like
nice.
fullbacks.
yeah, exactly. I'm trying
We're
to seem like
podcasts.
a good
Everything's
person.
great.
But
Well,
like,
let's let Dan. You said he's being very nice. Where are we from, Dan?
Pittsburgh,
Where's he from?
Canada.
There it is.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
guy.
Your
Yeah.
moment of zen.
See, you even apologized for it already. Yeah, I know.
You see?
See? Oh God.
It's not like I did that on purpose or anything, but
Nah.
you know what? Here's my
Stereotype.
thoughts. His power of 77, at least he has something there that is a somewhat likable. I mean, everything else is terrible, but there's something there that can be good. And if you just get lucky in winter ball and something else becomes good, then all of a sudden he becomes one of those other pitchers that we liked. It's just the problem is the other ones you're not banking on winter ball to help them. This one you are banking on winter ball,
And you can't do that. You
any
can't
exactly.
bake on such a random act of kindness and hope that that's what's going to make your first round pick a legit first round pick. I mean, it's the same thing that we see in FCM sometimes. You get guys that are guys that you're like, oh, okay, like I'm not hating them too much. They're not great, but they're not bad. And then they get like a +3 winter ball, and you're like, holy shit, they're the greatest player ever. How did I miss this guy? You didn't miss him. He got a fucking +3 to winter ball. That's how he is what he is. I mean, you took it like a and I don't want to pick on Stan again. That's rude. But Aaron Adondo, that was another guy. Like people weren't too high on him in the draft. He still went in the top 15, I think. And people kind of were like on him. And then they got a +3 to winter ball, and all of a sudden everybody's like, wow, good. But then he's kind of gone up and down the waffle a little bit since. So it's one of those things. If you're relying on winter ball, then again, it's just like taking the guy because you need the position. You're just not doing yourself a good service.
Yeah. And that brings us to the last pick of that first round.
Thank God Almighty, we can raise the Jolly Roger.
22, 11:22. Fuck me.
Exactly, Dan. I have to get up at 4 a.m. to work out. Glenn Jolly, a shortstop, so third and final shortstop taken in the first round. Huh?
What?
What? Fuck you. Anyway, I didn't even hear what you said. I'm just going to assume that was the appropriate response. Good defender.
I said, I'm guessing you just started working on.
Yeah. Well, no, I've.
Please don't tell me you've been doing it for 5 years.
No.
Okay, good.
No.
All right.
You know how fat I am. Fuck. Jesus.
Right.
Thanks. Glenn Jolly, good defender. I mean, he looks like a very good defender. 96 glove work, 93 arm strength, like 87 coming in, lateral 86. Like he's gonna be a very good shortstop defensively. Is the bat gonna be good? That gap power, that regular power, the contact. Yeah, I think he's going to be pretty solid. It looks like he might be okay against righties, and he's going to be quite good against lefties. Like, I'll take it. It'd be nice if he had a little more speed, but beggars can't be choosers. I think his eyes can be okay. Um, I like him. He's not going to be a one hitter. Might not be a two hitter either, but he's a guy you're going to put in the bottom end of the Jesus lineup. He's going to win you a Gold Glove, and he's just going to be a solid offensive guy.
I mean, looking at this guy, just, obviously I didn't scout all these guys, but just looking at this guy right here, I'd have picked him over any of the infielders that have been taken so far.
Well, not the first shortstop.
Huh?
Even the first shortstop?
Yeah. He just has a better I mean, if I'm sitting okay, this is me. This is just me personally. But if I'm putting a guy in that spot, like, I want the defender there. I don't care about his bat, but this guy, he has a bat. Not only does he have contact, I mean, he doesn't have the eye, which whoopty shit. He's a shortstop, but he has contact, he has power, he has gap power. As far as this position goes, like, this is especially if, like Koki said, the fielding and the arm jump. I mean, if his fielding and his arm jump, and hopefully his range jumps maybe a couple clicks, I'm taking this guy. Even if I put him at second, which I wouldn't because his arm's there, because he has a nice arm, but I like him over everybody that's been picked so far, purely on the fact of his defense. The bat is just a total fucking bonus, but that's me.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, if you had to have one thing for a shortstop, what was the one thing you would have to have?
If I have to have the one, that's where it comes into play, where you have your other two, like the combo, the arm and the fielding and looking down at his vitals are nice. He doesn't have the range, which really does suck, which is what I really want in a shortstop. But I haven't seen a range fielding guy or a range arm guy at shortstop. We've seen some range fielding guys with shitty fucking arms. You know what I mean? But this guy has the arm for a shortstop. He has the fielding. And if you look at his other stuff, I mean, he's 86, 87. The only thing he really sucks at is going back.
So if you had to pick one side of the ball for a shortstop, what do you have to have?
What's that?
If you have to pick one side for a shortstop, what do you have to have?
I have to have range, but he doesn't have the range. He has everything else.
Fine, I'm going to stop trying to set you up. It's just not going to work for me.
No, it's not, because I already know what the fuck you're trying to do.
I thought I was going to slip one in there. I thought you were going to say I have the D.
But overall,
it's so bad.
I know, but if you look at the total package, like, look at the arm strength and the throwing accuracy. Now, you don't see it in here, so as you do in 14, but I'm guessing that he worked in the pivot and the transfer into the arm strength and the accuracy. This dude's going to do fucking double plays for you all day long.
All right, so, but you do look at the whole package then.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he didn't get the D, but he got the whole package. So
yeah. I know. I was trying to get my way around to it, but I should up first because you don't want to sloppy seconds.
Hey, sometimes it's about the motion. Has nothing to do with the D.
But you know what? I mean, I'm sure that since we've been doing this for almost 2 hours at this point, Dan definitely forgot about Mike Lanky, who was the number 1 overall pick.
That's what I was trying to say. Like, what about the first shortstop?
About him.
Yeah.
I
was trying to say, what about the first shortstop that we really liked? And Dan's like, blip, 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 blip. I'm saying, you know what? I'm going to let him talk about
like, shut the fuck up, Mike. Like, we don't know how talking about him.
But you know what? Overall.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Mikey is better. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I forgot about him.
Overall, Jolie is very good, and honestly, it's just that eye that's the problem. But there's another little hidden stat, and I don't know if you guys have seen this photo I just put in the pod chat, but 60 health. Ooh. Yeah.
Wait, who's got shit health? Is that the shortstop, the Jolly Roger guy?
Yeah.
Ooh, there it is.
There's the reason that maybe you don't take him. I mean, he could just be running to first, trying to say he's safe, and just
dying.
Break his neck.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm riding that pony all the way on this.
Do I have to look Musgrove's injury up now, you motherfucker?
Yeah, go ahead, look it up.
Oh,
Or
he's
just
only got a
wondering
broken
how
wrist.
It's only a broken wrist, so you broke it jacking off in the dugout. All right.
Yeah.
Hey,
There's been
man's
some
gonna do what man's
pretty
gonna
bad
do.
injuries.
At least he wasn't trying to suck his own, and broke his neck in the dugout.
I mean,
Damn it.
Strasburg also broke his wrist, if that makes you feel better.
So you're saying
Yeah.
there's a circle jerk going on in the NL?
I mean, maybe that's what happened to Goldschmidt. Oh no, he broke his hip.
So he was.
Old man losing the hip already.
So he broke the hip while Strasburg was giving him a reach around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what happened.
Yeah. Feasible.
I think that is the best way to finish the chat. Just have everybody have that picture in their mind at the end of the chat.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm
Give him
gonna
a
keep it
full
going
handful.
just because I don't have to wake up early tomorrow, and you guys do. But we can always talk about the steals of the draft after. But since we are talking about injuries, I'll kind of discuss one of the plans or thoughts that I've had. So I don't know if you guys saw that, but I think the plan might be to put severity down to -20 and maybe leave the amount of injuries that we have at the same. I don't think there's too many injuries. I think it's just like, you know, you don't need to have like 12 400-day injuries happening a season. And I think that's kind of the big thing that I'll be checking. But since obviously so many people have had like massive drops, like Musgrave or whatever must have, like, he just died.
Dude.
He's not even serviceable anymore. And so the same with like Aaron Nola on Philly, which is obviously not the intention. We tried to make it as realistic because I spent 100 hours on this file. So I think the plan that way is going to be to look back at when they got injured and what their overall was at that point, and basically copy the vitals over. So
No, I think that's good. And I like the 0-20 so that you're getting, even though we're not getting a ton of injuries, you also, I don't like the fact that you don't get any, but the fact that they're 400 days, I like that. Because realistically, I mean, every team has guys on the DL or the 10-day, or you know what I mean, skipping starts and stuff like that. So I think I like that. It's realistic. Not 400 days though.
yeah, like, I mean, obviously in the majors you get that 1 or 2 games or 1 or 2 stars that, Strasburg, for instance, in real life threw out his shoulder or whatever, right? Tommy John, sorry, I guess elbow. You have those big injuries that can still happen. It's just it shouldn't be, the meme where you're kind of waiting to see how that sim progresses, and all of a sudden you're just like, damn, that's 4-1 sim that just are 90 days plus, right?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the focus there. I think unless people have a big complaint about that, I think it's only right to put everyone back to what they were, because I mean, all those teams have already like had the problem. Like Musgrave, even if you were trying to make the playoffs, he's not coming back till like September or October. Mookie Betts now is basically not going to be back until the World Series. So teams are,
It's fine.
yeah, like
Everything's
teams
fine.
already have kind of the hit that they've had, and it might as well kind of correct it. So moving forward, you don't have all these star players become absolutely garbage. Now, that being said, you're still going to have those players that will drop when they get injured and moving forward, but it shouldn't be 1 from every team or 2 from every team.
Yeah, it's weird. If I remember, 13 100+ day injuries, and that's just something you don't usually see in a file. There's just something's weird that's going on, and you don't. Yeah, it's probably the severity or something along those lines. And yeah, we might tinker as all new leagues do to kind of find that sweet spot where you still have realism, but you don't have he broke his neck fucking walking to first base. Like that's a bit weird.
Yeah. Yeah. But you do have to, you still have to have the chance of, like you said, guys get Tommy John, guys go out for a whole season. So you can't have it where that doesn't happen at all. But
Right.
you don't, like you said, you don't want to have 6 of them happen every time you sin.
Yeah. Like, I mean, we'll use a prime example. I'm sorry to bring back this horror, but looking at Mookie Betts,
Oh, goodness.
he played the entire game. Had 4 at bats, 1 hit, and then he's out however many days for a broken neck. Like,
151.
after you guys won, did you guys celebrate too hard and he broke his neck that way? Like, where did he break his neck? It's good old mogul, but I think that's just kind of the plan there is to put everyone back. I think that's really the best way that way, and hopefully that makes everyone happy because I obviously hopefully no one is in the thought process like, oh, I just lost this one player, I'm going to quit the league or anything like that. But
Oh,
you
shit, is
know,
that an option?
no, it's not. But
Oh,
if you
okay.
had like 7 of them, 100%, you're like, well, cool, my team is literally trash.
Oh,
Um,
if Manny's quitting, I automatically get his best pitcher. Or no, center fielder. Never mind. Let's make it center fielder.
yeah, I'd take his catcher. I mean, it's amazing that all of a sudden his pitching is so much better now that he has feasible defense. I mean, who would have thought you needed to have defense?
Not me. Since when does defense win championships?
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of that. Now, here's the question I'll throw to both of you. Obviously, my plan is to fix it, and I think we agree that that seems to be a relatively good notion. Now, what happens to those people that are going to be back before the end of the season? Do I just fix it at the end of the season, or should I fix it when they're back from being injured? Because that can make a big difference. My thought process is I should just leave it till the end of the year because then it's like it has. I guess in a way, it hasn't really changed a whole lot. It's just I don't know.
That's the way I would. Well, it depends. See,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. It's you almost want to take it case by case because if you have a guy that goes from a 90 to a 70, like that's gonna fuck him. And then he's back up to a 90 next year. Like that's just gonna be weird. But at the same time, nah, I'd almost err on the side of fix them when they come out of injury. Because if they're not coming out injured in the offseason, that it is what it is. But I mean, you shouldn't. The people shouldn't get punished for a month or 2 months or 3 months, maybe, just because moguled in a weird way.
See, I'm opposite. I think like you just take this as the first season. We're simming through. We're getting it right. We're you know what I mean. It's just a couple bumps and bruises along the way or a broken neck. And I think just at the end of the season, I told you I'm riding that pony all the way home. And I think you just at the end of the season, you just go back in, you put everybody back to the way it was. You know, whoever wins the World Series for this year, that's great. You got a ring. It's probably going to be Mizzy, and he'll never win one again, just like every other time. But and
Listen,
then
I almost want to get it, and
almost doesn't count. And then
um,
at the beginning of next season, you start over with because then okay, so you throw the guy back in, you pump him back up to his stats. He pitches an inning and he does it again. You know, just at the end of the season, you grab everybody that's been hurt, you write them down, you do whatever. End of the season, put everybody back to the way they were. Start brand new next season, knowing that you're sitting at the the 0 -20 or whatever. That's what I would do. Just makes it easier. Unless here's what I would say. Here's the only exception I would say to that rule is that even after a 200-day injury or whatever it is, if that team is in contention at the end of the season, like they're actually, say they come back in September and they're 4 games out of the wild card or whatever, they're within striking distance, then I think you would do it. But if you have a team that's, like 10 games under 500, I wouldn't waste your time doing it.
But here on the flip side of that same coin, what if that team wants to play spoiler? Why, so if you're in a league, you're in a division saying you're fighting for the championship. You got a guy come back at the end of the season from injury. He's get back at full strength. He's back the way that he should look. And then the guys in your division who aren't in contention or far enough out of contention, their guys are coming back from massive injuries and they're not getting That just makes it even more unfair for the guys at the top. 'Cause now the guys at the top are getting a double. They're getting the bonus for their guys going back to where they should be, and the bonus for everybody else in their division not going back to where they should be because they're not winning enough games.
But it doesn't matter for the people who aren't winning enough games because they're out of it. They don't matter anymore.
Well, I mean, I'm
They
sure
do for
Percy
the
needs
teams that are playing
a
them.
few more wins.
Take me for example. Who's the worst team in my division? I'm just going to assume it's Tampa. Is it Tampa?
No, it's Baltimore.
Oh yeah, I forgot they suck too. All right, so say it's Baltimore. So say my guy comes back just before the playoffs, which he won't because fuck me. But say he was about to come back before the playoffs, and now he's back, and boom, back to where he needs to be, back to perfect, back to awesome, fantastic. Let's fucking do this. Um, Baltimore has a guy, say their best pitcher goes down for the season, gets back right before the end of the season, and he gets stuck. He was a 90 guy, gets bumped down to low 80s or high 70s, and so instead of getting bumped back up to where he should be, he stays down there. I'm gonna rock him every time I pitch, every time I play against him, and it's just gonna be an easy fucking win for me. It's not fair for me to be getting those just chalking up those easy wins in the division because his guy wasn't fixed, my guy was.
Yeah, and so like, see, this was kind of brought up. Obviously, Fred has been one of the big guys that are upset with the amount of injuries, but on St. Louis, Goldschmidt is another one that had injuries. So you have Goldschmidt, Jacob Turner, and AJ Pollock, which honestly at 82 overall, I thought he was perfectly fine, but apparently I'm wrong. But in terms of that, like those are three players that look like they'll be back by playoffs. One is in 20 days, one is in 38 days, and then Turner is the longer one, being 106. So that should be September, unless I've messed up my math there. Oh no, yeah, it's like mid-September.
Uh, yes.
Oh no, it's October.
No, it's October. He's basically up.
Yeah, so pretty much it's Goldschmidt and AJ Pollock that I would figure is probably the top two contenders of this is where I was thinking, because those are the only two people that I would say are a big enough injury or impact to make a difference.
Yeah, I'm with Fred. I mean, I think if we're gonna fix some people, we're gonna fix all the people.
Yeah,
This and/or stuff gets just way too fucking wonky. And where do we make the cutoff? Do we make the cutoff at they're 10 games under, or do we make the cutoff if they're 5 games under? I mean, there's teams over at FCM that are like we're like 11 games under, still gonna win their division. So, where's the line?
yeah, and that's kind of why I haven't, like, I was debating putting it into the game where I would just do the -20 now, but then I thought it was unfair to the teams that have had an injury already. Like, let's use you for an example again.
God damn it!
He just lost Mookie back. Wow, I really struggle with his name apparently, but you lose him pretty much now till the end of playoffs. If I put it down to -20 severity, and all of a sudden you get Aaron Judge that gets injured for the Yankees, but it's only 40 days instead of like 300. It's kind of a shit situation, right?
Right. No,
So
you can't change the settings mid-season, but what you can do is fix shit that shouldn't happen because of the settings. So I know it's very close in kind of the scope that we're looking at, but you would turn down the injury severity at the end of the season. That's just I think a given and obvious thing to do. But as far as the rest of it, um, yeah, I mean you fix it as it happens. As guys come out of these big injuries, if they drop significantly, um, you fix it back to where it was. Now, if they drop a little bit, are you going to fix that too? Because I mean that does happen. Coming out of injury, somebody takes a bit of a hit.
yeah, which is one of those things, right? Like, I mean, I know Goldschmidt went from like a 92 or 93 to 90, so he's still very serviceable, but that's also because that's tied into more severity, I think. But
Right.
there's not necessarily an easy way, and I think that's where, at the end of the day, being the first season, we just fix everything because then
Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
that's the most. And I think that's the most fair way to go.